Okay guys, just got to go down and get some bread and milk, and thought I'd do a video on what the Japanese YouTubers don't tell you that you should know. So let's do it. So this video will be specifically about sort of around the tourism industry and the hospitality industry, and sort of how the Japanese think and what foreigners do wrong, and what the YouTubers don't tell you. And most of the time they don't know themselves because they're living in their own little bubbles, usually in an apartment somewhere in the city, and they're not down with how it works here. So anyway, I'll do my best. So I just dropped a video yesterday, and it even came with a warning for people to behave themselves, but that never happened, which I thought it probably wouldn't. But anyway, for those guys who are now banned, you're in the cheap seats. You're up with the Bitcoin spammers and all the haters. So you've got your space at the back, and you can't comment anymore. So the good thing about this is the average IQ of the channel's gone up, so that's a good thing. So specifically on the signs that you sometimes see about Japanese only and things like this, I thought I explained it quite well. Many people got it, and also citing the human rights lawyer who was trying to explain it as well. But for some people it's just not enough, but we can only do what we do. But I thought I might delve a little bit deeper into this thing as well, and these signs could be a lot worse. So number one, when people go out to eat, they want to taste the food, and the Japanese palate is very subtle. So a lot of the flavors that are in Japanese cuisine are very subtle flavors. So if you have a foreigner, especially a foreign lady, sitting next to you, and she's got 2 tons of hairspray and 5 tons of perfume on, what you're tasting is basically a mixture of pig urine and flower extract, and nobody wants to taste that while they eat their food. And the Japanese are very sensitive to smells, and anyone that's ever dated a Japanese lady, it's very, very noticeable, the amount of perfume and antiperspirant and deodorant and things that they use. It's very light to minimal, and it's considered low class to turn up to a restaurant with your hair all done up, defying gravity like Dolly Parton, and 5 ton of hairspray on, and you're gonna go walking into a Japanese wakushu restaurant where all the flavors are subtle, and the owners and the staff are just gonna go, where's this person from? They're from another planet. They've just got no idea at all. So when people are in their big hypocritical moments, when they see these signs, I can sort of picture these these people outside smelling like wildflowers and solvents and whatever, and it's because they don't know, and it's because of what the YouTubers don't tell them, because most of the time the YouTubers don't know themselves, and they're probably doing it as well. So it's not so much of a misunderstanding, is people just don't have any background information at all. It's because they wash trash, and most of the channels that cover Japan are just trash. They're just foreigners in their bubbles. They're walking around these cities with their camera, and they're putting out low IQ information, and it's because most of the time that's where they're at. So in the article in the previous video, even the human rights lawyer who works here in Japan, and human rights lawyers are generally fairly reasonable people, and even he explained just how justified these things are. But what I find really hypocritical is the people that comment on this, and they say it's racist, and they say it's this, and they say it's that. A lot of times they're living in cities where the actual rules are even worse. So I actually replied to a comment also on that video is try going into London and try and get into the Soho Club. Now, you can't get into the Soho Club, and it's got nothing to do with how well you speak English, and you may even have some money too, you may even be wealthy, but you're not getting in. Now let's have a look at all the discriminatory factors here at play. They're going to look you up and down, they're going to decide whether they want your type in the place or not, they're going to look at how expensive the clothes you're wearing, they're going to look at all these nasty things, but people never ever call these places out, do they? But what they want to do is they want to go and pick on the little guy with his ramen shop in the middle of Kyoto for trying to run his business as efficiently as possible and trying not to put pressure on his young staff. And the hypocrisy is just out of this world. And even when explained, even with the human rights lawyer, the people still up in the comments like there's something wrong here, even when it's explained, even by a person like me in the hospitality industry in Japan. And I'm trying to give the other side of the argument here, which for a reasonable person is totally logical, but even still people don't want to accept it, but they'll accept even worse hypocrisy in their own countries. The guys heading back, and more on to the hospitality thing and in the tourist areas is I don't know of any other YouTubers in Japan that have a cafe and work in this industry, but I know quite a few owners in Tokyo and only one in Kyoto, and actually gave one of my friends a call last night, and just to get a little bit more of the lowdown of what's been happening as well. And he's basically said that there has been a really big shift in the type of tourists coming. So in funny terms or comedic terms, basically a bunch of hillbillies. So if anyone remembers the Beverly Hillbillies, it's an old show from the 60s, and it's basically a bunch of hillbillies that struck it rich on an oil well, and they packed up all their gear and moved to like Beverly Hills, and they didn't change their behaviour or anything, they're just still hillbillies. But it's a pretty hilarious show for its time, and pretty much how he said it as well. You've got people come to Japan for the first time, and they've probably gone to cheaper destinations before. They've loaded up on their duty-free perfumes and they've slapped it on everywhere, and just behaving like hillbillies basically. And there's also the professional hillbilly who does it on purpose for social media clout, and everybody knows these losers. Don't need to name them, but it's totally a different perspective when you see it as a person living here and actually works in the industry. And it's just a shame that people put out videos and on topics such as this that have absolutely no idea what they're talking about. So there is a law in Japan for those who are looking to get in the hospitality industry, and you can have like a cafe like mine, and you can turn it into a private club. So basically that allows you to tell anybody for any reason that they're not allowed in, and that could be for nefarious reasons because you don't like them, or you don't want this type of customer for whatever reason. And you'll find that in Japan, in the big cities, there are a lot of these little clubs. So there'll be little hole in the wall places that probably only seat 5 to 10 people, like tiny little places, and they're basically little private clubs, and they have their own clientele, and they sell their own food and drink and whatever, and their customers obviously like going there because of the atmosphere and the owner, and they don't have to put up with people that they don't want to be around, so to speak. And people make a business out of this, and that's their right. And if you look at this sort of thing around clubs. It's in our culture as well. There's clubs in Australia you just can't get into unless you're a member, and to become a member, it's not like it's a straightforward process. You know, pay your money, you can be a member. No, there's all these hidden rules, and if you're not one of them, you're never going to get in. And there's also clubs where I come from where if you're a local, you can't get in unless you're a member. So there's all these rules as well. So if you look at the local workers clubs and RSL clubs in Australia, if you live within 5 kilometres of the club, I forget the rules, but it's basically this. If you're a local, you just can't go in for a casual beer. You've got to become a member to do it. Whereas if you live 20 kilometres away, you can just walk in the club and do what you want. So this is discriminatory as well, but nobody questions this at all. This is just normal. And when they come to Japan, they want to make all these judgments, and all their judgments are based on no information at all. And no information is actually better than bad information. That's why you should stay away from people who talk about these topics that don't work in the industry at all, never worked in the industry, but still want to talk about it. And it's better to have no information than bad information. So I could basically turn my cafe into a private club, and I could discriminate against people for whatever reason I want. I could just not give people memberships and not even give them a reason for it. So if people want to be discriminatory, and that's their intention to be discriminatory, they're just not wanting certain people in their establishments, there's a law for it as well. They could just turn it into a club. So they could just offer memberships to the people that they want to come into their establishment. So all these counter arguments and all this sort of nonsense that people go on about, it's just not based in reality at all. The reason why they have these signs is because they have a labour shortage of bilingual staff, and customers are not doing the right thing. They're going to sushi shops and washoku restaurants, and they're just stinking the place out. They're loud and obnoxious. I could go on and on and on, and it's not because they're bad people, don't get me wrong. It's just because they're not educated, and they're not being educated because they're watching trash. And that's the basic thing about this. People will put out videos saying, oh, they're being racist or whatever, but they've just got no insight. And this is because they don't work in the industry. They're just apartment dwellers walking around basically putting out trash information. And this is why people come to Japan, and if that's all they know, that's all they know, and it's not totally their fault. So don't take this as sort of a foreigner bashing thing as well. They're going to do what they're going to do, and it's based on what they know. And if the trash is in, the trash comes out. So as I said before, just be careful who you're watching, and be a little bit critical. If somebody's really popular and they're talking about a subject, you've got to question, do they actually know what they're talking about? And most of the time they don't. Some things they're really great on, and unfortunately most things they have no clue. So anyway, I've got to go in, I'm going to have some breakfast, and I've got to go out again. But I've got a new Patreon member for the channel, Chef Joe, and here's a shout out. Shout out to our new Patreon member, Chef Joe. Good all? She says thanks for joining the channel. Chef Joe, you're a legend. Again, Chef Joe, from one chef to another, a brother from another mother. Thanks for joining the channel, and I hope you enjoyed the content over there. There's a lot of videos on the hospitality industry and tourism industry, so people who are actually interested in this topic, there's I think over a dozen videos, how to set up a business, how to run these type of businesses, and pitfalls and things like this. So you'll get a lot out of the content over there. So anyway guys, as always, hope you like the video.
Let's go.